So let me give you some data about startups. We have 165,000 registered startups, 22,000 funded. They created $600 billion of value. We got 121 unicorns, maybe 250, 300 unicorns. Last year we invested about $13 billion, and this year we hope that $14, $15 billion come. And we have startups across a wide variety of areas like fintech, health tech, SaaS, deep tech, etc. So I think we have a very well-developed system, which is the third largest in the world, and I think it's going to grow further in the future. Now, what are the big issues about startup? The biggest issue of startup is the lack of adequate capital. For example, China invested $835 billion in startups and venture between 2014 and 24. United States, $2.32 trillion. We just put in $160 billion, out of which possibly 80% came from overseas. So local capital is not coming in. Where does local capital come into venture and investment? In the US, it largely comes from insurance companies and endowments of universities and others. Here, endowments are not allowed to invest in startups as per government policy, because to get exemption under Section 12 of the Income Tax Act, there's a schedule of investment, and venture capital funds and startups are not allowed. Our insurance companies have an AUM of something like 80 lakh crores, and they're not invested anything into startups and venture because there are some regulations which IRDA has reformed, but still not reformed fully. They must allow investment into fund of fund, which they don't allow, and they must have flexibility in the kind of structures that they have, which they don't allow, because they tell you if they want to invest, their money should not be used overseas, which is fine. And we've gone back to them and told them you can have two kinds of shares in the same fund, one for investing locally, one where some money could go overseas because we need to get exposure, but they're just sitting quiet and not doing anything. IRDA has to reform. Now, don't tell me that these insurance companies cannot invest in startups on risk, because we got foreign huge pension funds coming to India, taking the country risk, taking the industry risk, and making huge investments and making money. And our pension funds, which are about 45 lakhs in corpus, 45 lakh crores in corpus, are not able to invest because they're too conservative and the regulations do not allow them. So funding is the biggest challenge. Second is the challenge of R&D. We need more R&D in our universities. The funding on R&D in all of public universities is 5,000 to 6,000 crores, less than what one university spends. We need more funding. And we also need people like DRDO to open up, because DRDO spends a lot of money to open up. The ISRO has opened up, and we see space tech coming up. Now, IDEC, the Defense Authority, is investing something, but they have got to scale up. And DRDO has got a lot of technologies which they have to license out to the private sector and do joint projects. In fact, when I took a delegation to NASA, the NASA people told us that in NASA, they will invest in areas where the private sector does not invest, because they said we can't use taxpayers' money to compete with taxpayers. In India, we have these public institutions, which are like DRDO and others, use taxpayers' money to do R&D for the defense, which is very good, but they don't give the technologies to the private sector, depriving them of the benefits of taxpayers' money. So we need to do that in a substantially bigger way. And third, we need to remove barriers for startups to sell business to the government and public sector units, because they still go on L1. Even the government has reformed it, doesn't work in actual practice. It must be opened up, and I think that has to be a mind shift. Each department of the government should take it, because PSUs are a large buyers of the startup technologies, and they're a big market. They're making a lot of money. And the private sector should understand they have to use technologies for the startup and pay them better. The problem in India is that all the big companies try to beat down the small startups and give them less money and force them to sell the technologies and use them, and often don't pay them on time. This culture of hurting the small people should change. In the US, for example, they're very amenable to new technologies and they pay you on time. I think the culture in business has to change, and all these people are making a lot of money. So I think these are the things to do. Minister Piyush Goyal lamented that we're not investing enough into deep tech startups. The problem is there needs to be lack of money. We need a 50,000 crore fund, like the 10,000 crore startup fund started in 2015, to invest in deep tech startups through a fund-of-fund mechanism and a direct investment, with maybe the State Bank of India being the AMC manager. Today, we spend 9 lakh crores in subsidies for the people at the bottom of the pyramid to the state government and the union government. We hardly spend 10, 20,000 crore innovation. We have to expand that to 30, 40, 50,000 crores a year to be a good global dominating player. We are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, but we have to improve. I think is translated tangible for people. I don't understand what data they're looking. Per capita income is 2,35,000. In the last 11 years, it's gone up from maybe 75,000 to 2,35,000, which is very good. What they're saying is the top 1% of people are benefiting, the rest are not benefiting. In every society, throughout history, the top 1% of people are benefited disproportionately because they happen to be innovators, they happen to be in business, they happen to be people who take risk and do well. So cut it out and try to be part of the top 1%. What we have to see is what is the median income of the people, and then what are the bottom 30% done? The gap between the medium income and the average of the 30%, the gap decreased. And I think in India, the last 10 years, it has decreased. Every section of India has done well. Look at the consumption survey of last year. Every section of India has done much better than they did 5 years ago, and they're doing much better. We are pumping in 9 lakh crore of subsidies into the rural areas and for poorer people. So I think people have done better. What they do is they pick up the top 1% and say, oh, this person has done well. We should be proud. America is proud of Elon Musk. They don't grudge him his benefits. We should be proud of Mukesh Ambani. We don't grudge him his benefits. Because the big industry, they've taken risks, they've done well. It's okay. We should aim to be like that. So I think if you look at the median and do that, every section has done well. Can people at the bottom do well? Yes, they can do well, do better. But for that, we need a strategy to grow faster and to make sure that we shift people from agriculture into industry and services. We have, 45% of workforce depend on agriculture, of which about 63% are women, 37% are men. The percentage of women has gone up in the last 5-6 years by about maybe 6 to 7 percentage points, and 80 million women have come into the workforce in agriculture. That's because the men from rural areas are migrating and working in construction all over India, and the women are taking over the burden of agriculture and cattle rearing and participating in economic activities. This is a transition period, that's fine. What should we do for that? We should invest in the 5,000 small towns and grow those towns. So economic activity shifts to small towns. We must have a massive, special employment zone scheme where the poorest 400 districts will get incentives for people to set up labor-intensive industries to take care of labor. So we need some change in policies whereby we incentive job creation rather than capital investment. Well, they should take part in the narrative and grow and help. Yes, they're sending, we're getting $125 billion a year as remittances. Some of them are helping. They can do much more. And I think, it's wrong upon us to think that the diaspora is there to help us. The diaspora is there. When they're happy, most of them are doing well, and let them be well. If they want to come, let them come and help. And the one thing they can do is to improve India's brand equity and narrative outside. But many of the diaspora have a very patronizing attitude to Indians and to India. For various reasons. I don't want to go into the reasons. They've done very well. It is good. And I think, it's in their interest to participate in India's growth and to build the brand for India, because if India's brand becomes bigger, they obviously benefit. Indian investors learn that governance is very important. When you invest a lot of money, you must bring in governance practices. You must have a strong board which holds the founder and CEO accountable. Greed must not overtake your responsibility for governance. So I think it was a good entrepreneur. He created a fabulous product. I think there's a governance problem, and I think it didn't work out. So I feel sad about it, but that's the reality. And I think the governance is a very important thing. Governance must be put in, and they cannot be compromised on governance. It must be run in proper governance lines. And the founder should also understand good governance is in their interest. They can't resist or push people around, so they have to work together. I think AI is going to be a great tool of productivity. AI will make human beings more productive. It will take away a lot of the drudgery of work. Because 60-70% of work we do is repeat work, is rule-based work. We do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do the same thing again and again and again, full day for years, right? Now, a lot of the work will get automated. It will be easier to do. So hopefully you'll do better work, because India is a growing economy, and in a growing economy, there's always growth. So if productivity goes up, you can do other work and possibly get paid better. That's what will happen in India. In developed economies where things are not growing very fast, they will use AI to improve productivity and remove people from jobs and save money. In a country like India, I would think that the right strategy would be to use AI to improve productivity and then try to grow your revenues to the same number of people. The employment intensity of growth could come down, but there are many, many sectors where growth is coming up, especially in the service sector, industrial sector, where there's a shortage of good trained people and coming. So I think AI can be a boon to India, And we should all embrace AI and use it to improve productivity, become that much more competitive and reduce waste. And for all individuals, we must learn to use AI tools to become much more productive. We must make sure that we can do more work within the same period of time using AI. And AI is not going to go away. AI is going to get better and better and better. People say that AI can do 60% of the work human beings can do, and that is something that's very real. We are seeing productivity gains of 25, 30% in many, many industries across the board, and that could go up. And I think that's something that we have to be aware of and learn how to use it to our advantage.